Welcome to Fight for the Title. So many takeaways from Week 6 that we could get into, along with trades that have taken place right after this week's games wrapped up. Let's get right into the top takeaways from this week. First, let's talk about the Lions. They're looking dangerous, and I'm not talking the Russell Wilson type. With the performance they put out on Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys, they looked like the best team in the entire league. And that is saying something, because there are still two undefeated teams in the Chiefs and Vikings out there. They beat the Cowboys 47-9 in a game that wasn't close from the start and just continued to get more and more out of hand as the game progressed. Unfortunately, for me, I started Kirk Cousins in fantasy this week over Jared Goff, and, well, I lost because I thought Cousins could, handle the Panthers' defense. That's neither here nor there. Jared Goff looked incredibly impressive with a 72% completion percentage, 315 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Not to mention, David Montgomery just got a contract extension before the game. He showed out getting multiple scores as well. There is one huge kicker for the Lions though, and that is the injury to Aiden Hutchinson. That was a huge blow for him and the team. He is one of the premier young defensive end players in the NFL, and it was hard to watch him get carted off the field. Wishing him a quick and healthy recovery process. The team as a whole will have to overcome losing such an impact player. With the talent they have on offense, coupled with a very serviceable defense, I could see them making a deep run again, especially after dropping nearly 50 points on that Jerry Jones all-in defense. Since they won this week, they will have a chance to take the top spot in the NFC North if they beat the Vikings next week. Whoever decided to put the New York Giants in primetime at any point this season should be fired. We saw who they were last year, and someone really thought they would be better with a roster that is no better? Give me a break. With that said, they were in fact in primetime and played the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football this week. But I say all that about the Giants to show what a poor excuse of a win it was for the Bengals. They beat the Giants 17-7 this week in an ugly win. To be fair, Joe Burrow did admit that it was an ugly win after the game. However, it really came down to the fourth quarter. That is not a good sign for a team that was in the Super Bowl just a few years ago. I'm not sure where exactly to point for the blame this week. They are 2 games under 500 this season and just all around don't seem to be playing with any type of urgency. Maybe they need to shake up in the front office or need to have a competitive rebuild, but what they are doing right now just isn't working. The Ravens and Steelers are quickly running away with the division. If they play like they did last night against those two teams, it will not be a pretty sight for Cincinnati fans. This week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the New Orleans Saints 51-27. This was a Saints team that started the season firing out of a cannon at 2-0. The Saints had a backup quarterback starting in Spencer Rattler, but we can't take away what Tampa Bay's offense did. Baker Mayfield had 325 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and even with 3 interceptions, they put up 51 points. Their backup running back, Sean Taylor, had to fill in due to an injury this week, and he had himself a very good showing. On just 14 attempts, he had 136 yards and a score. Tucker rushed for 9.7 yards per run. Nearly 10 yards per run is crazy good, especially for a guy that hasn't been a starter. With a record of 4-2, they are tied with the Atlanta Falcons in their division. I think that they are being slept on around the league. When you watch talking heads across the league, you don't see anyone talking about them. I think that's a mistake after a game like this. It might just come down to them and the Falcons in Week 18. I'm not going to be caught sleeping on this team like the major media outlets, so here's your praise, Bucks. The first bonus takeaway is Jim Harbaugh going into the medical tent before the Chargers game on Sunday. Before their game on Sunday against the Broncos, Coach Harbaugh was brought into the medical tent by the training staff. He proceeded to go off the field before one snap was even taken. I haven't seen anything quite like this before, where the coach leaves right before kickoff and doesn't return. Fortunately, the team rallied and beat the division rival 23-16. There are now reports that it was a heart issue for Harbaugh, and he will have to wear a heart monitor during games from now on. Thankfully, he will be able to return for this upcoming week. My second takeaway is everything that has taken place after all the games had already been played this week. That is, the trades that had taken place throughout the day on Tuesday. The first huge breaking news was Davante Adams getting traded to the New York Jets for a conditional third-round pick. He is now going to be back to play with Aaron Rodgers. I made a video all about that as the news broke yesterday if you want my longer-form take on that. The next news that broke was Amari Cooper getting traded from the Browns to the Buffalo Bills. Maybe it's just because Deshaun Watson has been so bad, but I didn't find this trade to be that much of a blockbuster. Cooper's production had been way down lately, but again, that might be because of Watson's awful play. If he can look like the Raiders or even Cowboys version of himself, Amari Cooper would be a good addition for the Bills this season. The third trade that was of note was Cam Akers being traded back to the Minnesota Vikings from the Houston Texans. The Vikings had a chance to re-sign Akers after the 2023 season, but elected not to. Now with the injury to Aaron Jones, they needed someone to keep the run game upright. The Vikings are right back to where they were at the end of last season, with Akers now back on their roster. That's all for this week's takeaways. Let me know your thoughts and takes in the comments below. Subscribe for more NFL news and content. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.